Kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Excuse me while I put my drink away.
Let's everybody watch Pat put his drink away.
Back
Cool.
again.
Are we ready? Hello, kia ora.
Kia ora. That
Joey's here also.
introduction needs to be longer so I can pour a drink. Hey team, how is everyone? Hey Chewy, how are you, love? What's going on?
Oh, good. I've been at work for many, many hours. I am a tired wee wookie.
Is this tonight that you were doing, that you possibly were going to run late? Because I didn't have no recollection of that. Was it going to be tonight?
Yes, it was going to be tonight. It's a monthly stock take at work, and it went pretty well, but it makes for a long day.
Well, thank you for thank you for your service. Is that what we're supposed to say with stock take? Is that the right sentence to use?
I am in a lot of ways a hero, similar to a soldier home from war. Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, super quick whānau, just so you know, not a hard sell, but there is a particular person who's in charge of doing a particular amount of merch. This particular person, as I look out my door, she is currently in the office printing some merch for some people who have ordered it. Lovely. You're very lucky. It'll come to you shortly. That particular person who does particular merch is going to Auckland for a week tomorrow. So if you have any urgency for wanting to pick up some of our merch, and remember the new red bag, well, not the U, sorry, the OG is back in stock, the red. We are going to do presses tonight, and we're going to do presses first thing tomorrow morning, and then we probably won't be pressing for a week. So if you're someone who's been thinking about it, you're keen, you're interested in getting some merch, then it's sort of, you've got sort of 18 hours, or we'll get it to you in a week and a couple of days. I'm sure most people aren't too fussed about that, but we can get it on the courier tomorrow, or we can get it on the courier kind of Friday week. So if you're interested, bhnshop.nz, I think is it. And if anything comes in live, we will put it through right now to be pressed. That's just how we roll. I will not.
How fresh is that?
Room. Yeah, it's fresh
so
as
fresh.
bro. So fresh and so cool. Yeah, just a heads up. I know people are cool. They kind of get it in a week or a week and a half. But if you did have any reason or desire to have it quickly, then we can get it done for you over the next sort of 12 hours. And then it'll be just a few days wait to get it next time. Hey, Chewy, things going well, love? You're tired? Have you had a beer yet after you got home?
I haven't had a beer because that had just put me to sleep. That had just finished. I've been mentioning that I've been getting my roof replaced to get solar on. That started today. It's very exciting.
Yeah,
so
so
they've ripped off half my roof.
And what is up there at the moment? Like a big Food Town plastic bag, that sort of thing?
No, like half the roof's done. That's what I mean.
So they
half
pull
the
it off,
roof
put
is
it on.
new and half the roof is old. Yeah.
And why did you need to get a new roof for solar? What's that all about?
Because the solar panels will last between 20 and 30 years.
Right.
And
so you didn't want to put it on.
So when I had the solar guy come round, he says, hey, this is probably a good chance for you to check that your roof's all good. And so I got a roofer around and he says, oh, your roof's in good nick. You've probably got another 5 to 6 years in this. Mm-hmm. And I was like,
So
that
it's
math
more,
doesn't math.
Yeah. So it's more that you didn't have to get it done, but rather than having to take panels off in 8 years from now and put panels back on, just doing it all now. That's more the drive. Gotcha.
Do it once, do it right.
Yeah, or like the rest of us, do it several times and do it wrong. I mean, that's what most of us tend to do.
That's a half-ass it. It's the Kiwi way.
That's my life. So whānau, lots going on at the minute. Lots of international news out. Actually, I watched one news tonight. I didn't watch three, and it was ambassadors in Australia. It was Gaza. It was Virginia Gouffre, I think it is. Were all sort of the big news stories. Not a lot of New Zealand news around tonight. I had a look at. I think it was it the Herald. Oh, you know what? Something weird happened with breakfast on one this morning. Because I do sometimes have a look at this, because they have a ticker along the bottom as to what's coming up in the show. So often in the afternoon, I might put that show on, but I'll just watch the ticker for 5 minutes to see if there's anything. No show on TVNZ on demand. Like there's no show. It's just not there. So I Google, Chippy Tuesday TVNZ, not on the website at all. So they obviously had some kind of technical glitch, but luckily, friend of the show, Gerald Otto, had got the Chippy conversation, put it on his Facebook page, and so we're going to watch a bit of Chippy tonight on the Facebook page from Gerald's sourcing it from Gerald, straight from G News. And he was talking about a few things. House prices was one of them, and there is we haven't covered this yet, but I saw the story a couple of days ago where Christopher Bishop wants house prices to go down. Christopher Luxon wants house prices to go up. Now, they're not singing from the same song sheet and cabinet. What the hell does that mean for us? So that came up, and they asked Chippy, I think it was Mr. Chang, asked Chippy about the indecisiveness coming from National around housing. I nearly said horse prices, housing prices. But then also, and I think sort of a fair call, asked about the mixed messaging that Labor's doing around gang patches. I think it was Penny Hanare said that he was going to get rid of the gang patch ban, and Chippy said, no, we're not. So both bigger parties at the moment seem to be having a bunch of mixed messaging coming out. We'll have a look at what Chippy had to say about all of that. Chewy, I'm sure you've got a lot of talks about the Australian Iranian ambassador being expelled. Of course, one of the things not to burn all our to keep our powder dry, not to burn our powder, is that if they and like, not saying it's the wrong call, obviously, but if they can get rid of the Iran's ambassador over 2 attacks in Australia, what about the Israeli ambassador for thousands of attacks in Gaza, war crimes? So it's a very fair question, I think, to ask, and we can talk that through. Also, it's such a, and I love Zombieland, the movie, so I'm not using this phrase flippantly because it's not flippant, but the double tap theory within Gaza at the moment, what Israel's doing over there. Woke up this morning, opened up my phone, went to Twitter. First thing I saw was a story about a bunch of journalists and medics going in to help of a recent bombing of a hospital, war crime, to then only being hit again, double tapped, they call it. So they don't just kill the initial people, but also they try and kill the people helping the initial people. I believe One News reported it as Gaza's only semi-functioning hospital was the attack today. So, yeah, that sounds good, eh?
And we'll touch on this, but would you believe, Pat, like, I know it might be hard to believe, but could you imagine a world where the IDF might be telling us one thing and telling the Israeli people a completely different version of what happened?
No, I can't believe that at all. That wouldn't happen, would it?
Oh, okay. We'll see. We'll see.
And also, this Virginia Defray, we actually haven't really talked about this much at all, but the Lincoln with Trump and Epstein, incredibly sad story that Virginia Defray took her own life a few months ago. But what I didn't know until today was she's written a book, and the book's about to be released posthumously. I struggle with that word. And apparently the publisher of the book has said, yeah, some big powerful people aren't going to be happy. It's just for her. It's just the saddest story in the world. Prince Andrew, I believe it's reported to be an $11 million payout to her, but wouldn't admit to any crimes, because he just likes giving $11 million to people having a hard time. It's got nothing to do with anything else, apparently. And then she was living in Australia, I'm assuming to get away from as much of it as she can. And then she wrote a book, and then she unalived herself. It's just the most tragic story. So, and then again, there's also the family of her who are saying at the moment the US is giving someone who they hold responsible for this tragedy, this crime, a platform to whitewash themselves in Ghislaine Maxwell. So, yeah, it's all pretty horrific. Yeah. Hey, that I'm not sure what's going on in the chat at the moment, but the whole double tap thing. Isn't there like an official army thing, like a tactic? It's not called double tap. That's the slogan, but there's an official sort of, this is a such and such tactic. It's got a different sort of a word. Do you know
it's
that?
been called the double tap for a while. Honestly, I don't know who invented it. I don't know if it started with literal terrorists. But Russia uses it in Ukraine today. They'll often hit the target a second time when they know that first responders will be there. Often drone strikes under the Obama administration in Afghanistan and Iraq and that sort of thing, they were often double taps as well. It's a tactic. It's a really, really shitty tactic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, those sort of, like, maybe there's an argument if you were hitting a military target or something like that, but it just seems the aim of it is to clean up people coming to help, which just seems so shitty. It's even more shitty when it's a hospital and you're hitting civilians for the most part. Again, to mention, the IDF's own figures say of all the casualties in Gaza, 83% are civilians.
If there was a better term for it, I'd love to use it. I'm just looking at double tap strike on Wikipedia and it doesn't say anything, because I associate that phrase now with Zombieland, and it kind of feels like it's flippant, and I'm not making sure that people are aware that we're not wanting it to be flippant.
I think that's just what it's called.
Yeah, okay. It does say in this article that a Florida law review article argued that the practice is likely a war crime since it grossly violates the Geneva Convention, which prohibits targeting civilians, the wounded, and those no longer able to continue fighting. So if you've hit a group of, even if they're soldiers and they are incapacitated, to hit them again is a war crime. So, you know, I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but some people, some crazy far purple head leftist seems to think that Israel's committing war crimes. Yeah, it's just a weird thing, and you know, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, I mean the double tap thing again. You mentioned it in Zombieland. It's you're shooting someone in the heart and the head, and then you know that they're dead. But look, as a tactic, as a tactic in war, it's well known enough that it was in the Hunger Games movies, which I see several people have mentioned there. And even then, like when it's mentioned in the movie, in a storyline that is literally rebelling against a tyrannical government, someone mentions like, "Oh, we do the double tap," and the reaction is like, "That's pretty shitty. Are we going to do that?" And then that's what happens, and it's a false flag as well. So. It hasn't been invented by the Israelis. Everybody's real keen to use it, but I think, you know, it's shitty.
The double track strike became subject of debate during the US war in Afghanistan. Double tap strikes have been used by Saudi Arabia during its military intervention in Yemen, by the United States and Pakistan and Yemen, by Israel and Gaza in 2014, and also Gaza war 2024-2025, by Russia and the Syrian governments in the Syrian civil war, and by Russia and Ukraine in the Russo-Ukrainian war, especially in the full-scale invasion in 2022. So there you go, just to back up. And look, here's one other thing I want to throw out there. And JC, you are very, very, very right to ask this question, just to ensure that I still I still feel special. I saw a different word there because I'm dyslexic. The OG BHN hoodies will not have the OB on the back like my OG BHN hoodie, will they? Do you remember this, Chewy? The first year of printing BHN hoodies, we decided to print a little OB on the back. And that stood for Original Beardy, and we made a guarantee that after the 31st of December of that year, which was probably 2023, maybe? Has it been that long? Gosh. That we would not ever print another one with OB on the back. And you are safe in your specialness, JC. There is no OB on the back of these. Although I did think, Chewy, it might be quite nice to put like a 19? Like a 2025 on the back of them, and then next year a 2026, and then a 2027, and then people can kind of see how long they've been a part of the crew. We're not doing that right now, but no, there are no OG
plus
OBs.
And OG plus premium subscriber.
It's the
Gold
OG
tier.
It's the OG styling. It's like I like Vans, but I like the classic Vans. It's got a thinner stripe rather than thicker stripe ones. So, you know, you get there, but they're not from the 60s or 70s. You still buy them in Platypus now. Thanks, Platypus. Shout out, free shoes. Okay. Is there anything else we want to start with before we kind of get into the night? To get into the night. Anything else you want to get out there? Anything else you want to show or put out there? Anything else you want to tell us? How was stock take? Was it good?
Stock take was good. We had an overall variance of negative $4.50.
Oh my gosh,
we're pretty happy with that.
That is good news. That is good news.
Look, I haven't got anything queued up for this, so maybe we can touch on it if Pat can find a good clip. But the governor of Illinois, so that's a state that has Chicago in it. Trump's been making threats towards sending in the National Guard to Chicago. That has prompted that governor to really go on the offensive and go some great quotes in that speech, but he's just like, if you come after my citizens, there is nothing on earth that will stop me, neither time nor the variances of politics. I will see you in jail, basically.
It's hilariously crazy at the moment. Trump is going around saying the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are Democrat-run cities, and they're just not.
It's not true.
It's
not true.
It's actually absolutely
Louisiana
not true.
has a higher murder rate.
It's just most of them are Republican-run. And it just goes to show this authoritarian thing that's been going all the way through. And, love him or hate him, and, he's passable on some issues, he's terrible on most. But Bill Maher, at the last time Luxon was in, faux pas, Trump was talking about a slow-moving coup. And it's sort of kind of what it's looking like right now. So it's exactly what the worst of what people predicted to be, that he would become authoritarian, he would overtake cities, he would, turn it into a military-run place, and it's exactly what's happening. And, of course, he's not having to take the armies into the Republican-led cities because they do what he's told, what they're told already. The ones that don't are the Democrat-run ones. So he has to just manufacture the crisis, like that story that I just put up there was, to send the troops in. It's both horrific and fascinating at the same time, because it's like, what's the next 12 months going to be like? What's actually going to happen? It's mostly horrific, Joey.
It's like there's reports out of the US today, I think, that the Trump administration is looking at changing laws around how you deploy the National Guard.
Yeah.
And basically sort of being able to deputize law enforcement into another organization in times of crisis, which, as that article says, you can manufacture a crisis. It's super easy. But yeah, like all of this sort of seems to me like pre-positioning your chess pieces before the other side gets a chance.
Yeah.
I almost think, I keep saying this, where is the tipping point in the States? Like you have like what Gavin Newsom is doing in California, which is actively baiting Trump and mocking him and just calling him out that he is trying to destroy their democracy. Mm-hmm. And you have people that are just going, no, all of this seems fine. You see this Chicago governor being very proactive and calling it out as well. But it just doesn't feel enough of a response to what we see here of going, holy shit, this is crazy. You have the military checkpoints on the streets. And this is the country is like, no one's going to take my freedom. And it's like, well, it looks like they're doing that, my dude. I saw a clip of them taking a firearm off a licensed firearm holder in that state. And they're like, no, you can't have a gun. And he's like, I absolutely can. I have a permit. No, you're not allowed. And they literally took his gun off him. Isn't that supposed to be like a real trigger for some of these guys?
Yeah.
Pardon the pun.
It's also fascinating. So I was watching this literally before we came on. That's why I knew exactly where this was. And one of the points that's being made now is like the Capitol Police and the DC Police have huge amounts of training when it comes to interacting with people, and they have like a 6-month training period, and then they're on probation for another 12 months. And love or hate the cops. Most people won't. You can do both. Most people may not have a great relationship with them, but the point they were making is there's a lot of training that goes in, and then you've got the National Guard, who are basically weekend soldiers who they use to help pass out, bottled water in times of emergency. They're now arming them and putting them on the streets of DC and telling them to police the people. It's pretty scary. So this is obviously the top 20, with the caveat that the population has to be at least 250,000 most dangerous cities, and 1, 2, 3, 4 are Republican. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 13 out of 20, including the top 4, are Republican led spaces. This is, I haven't queued this up, but this goes into Trump talking. So maybe we'll just give this 60 seconds, see what he's got to say, and then we'll come out of it.
Would you also consider sending the National Guard into red states and red cities that are also seeing high crime?
Sure, but there aren't that many of them. If you look at the top 25 cities that for crime, just about every one of those cities is run by Democrats.
We've just seen 13 out of 20 are run by Republicans.
The president did.
There you go. That's what we need to show, because that was a pretty good little non queue up piece of video that just played out there. Spot on, nice.
At this point, like, fact checking's not enough. Like, there needs to be an alert when Trump says an actual true thing.
If we don't confirm this is accurate, just expect it to be false. Yeah, I also wonder what about the actual police and the soldiers. Because you look at what's happening with ICE and stuff at the moment, they're going along with it. In Trump's last term, there was a lot of these kind of vibes around, but as we always hear, that thing that there was adults in the room, it feels different. Like, I was always pretty confident at the last term that the system of government would hold him accountable. And it kind of basically did. He was terrible. And, 1 million people died because of his ridiculous, it'll just go away like magic around COVID. He is responsible for that. But government did, even when they tried to do a coup on January the 6th, it still didn't get through. People who were in the Congress, his vice running president dude, said no. So there were things in place, as bad as it was, that made it feel like it wouldn't tip over. I don't get that sense this time, Chewy. I don't get that sense of comfortability that there's things in place that are going to stop it tipping over. In fact, it looks like, if you've got a Sistema container to put your dinner in, and it's got like a base and it's got walls that go up the side, it feels like that this is just the base. So if you tip water on it, it just goes down and runs over the edges. It feels like there's nothing holding back that flow of where this could go.
Yeah, I think traditionally there's been a lot of hope placed in the American system of having those independent branches of government holding each other to account. But we've seen decades and decades of them moving the goalposts and appointing people and all of that sort of thing that's really, really damaged the hope in the system will keep people in check. And I think by the same token, Americans put a lot of faith in the oaths that police and military members take. What's that bit of like defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and they go, well, there's domestic enemies as well. Well, it depends. Who do they think the enemy is?
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of hope that some general somewhere is going to stand up and go, well, no, and it's just not happening. They're getting sacked. There isn't a resistance. The Democrats are being weak as shit. And as I said on Blue Sky today, it definitely feels like this is a point where Americans need to do something before it's too late.
Yeah, well, it might already be too late.
Yeah, it might be.
As part of my algorithm on YouTube, I watch these things called First Amendment auditors, and they go around America with cameras, and they stand on the public sidewalk and they film shops and stalls and that kind of stuff, and they're doing it to get a reaction, basically. But what they're doing is they're proving the point that they've got the right to do it. And when the police come up and hassle them, the first thing they say to them is, "Did you swear an alliance or an oath to the Constitution?" Which police have to do. And they're like, "Well, then you can't impinge on my rights because you should be defending what I'm doing." Every single one of those soldiers, every single one of those police officers, every single one of those generals have all pledged an oath to the Constitution. And now they're serving a man who is actively breaking the Constitution. That's what I don't quite understand. What it shows to me is all this kind of, and we said it today, it's a bit of a joke for you, Chewy, doing your stock take, but thank you for your service. What a load of horse shit. Thank you for standing up for the Constitution by saying no. Like, that's actually, if you don't do that, you can go fuck yourself for your service, because it's like, this is when it really, 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 really did matter to stand by that oath, you folded. And you went and took the rights away from citizens of the country, non-citizens of the countries, tourists in the countries, people who have come across the border and seek the refugee status, which is legal. You're allowed to come across and seek a refugee status, even though you may be not allowed in the country. It's a process to go through. Then you're actually doing the opposite. So I'm just, I don't think any other country in the world holds their military to the same kind of pinnacle as Americans do. But dude, you got to stop. If they're just going to go along with this unconstitutional bully wannabe dictator, then no thank yous. No, you're basically akin to Kim Jong Il's guys who march through the street doing what they're told. There's no difference.
I watch those auditor videos as well. Yeah. It's funny to see someone being an asshole. But the one thing that always strikes me with those videos, and this can go for any society, right? If you sit there and you go, "Well, I've got a First Amendment right to do this, you can't stop me." That might be true up until when it's not. You are trusting the idea of something. You are trusting a document to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. If that cop or soldier or whatever decides, you know what, today's the day I don't give a fuck, and you're going to jail. Yeah. You're going to be like, this is how it happens in other countries around the world. You just get blackbagged and disappeared or chucked in a ditch, that sort of thing. That difference between getting away with it and going, yeah, I'm an asshole because I'm within my rights to be an asshole, and something very, very bad happening is tissue thin.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think some of those First Amendment orders actually do it to get arrested and then they sue. It's basically an income stream. But what you're saying now is under this current administration, they might actually end up in alligator Alcatraz, not just in the local police station overnight with all the drunks. So maybe be a bit more careful.
Actually, tangent time. Is this not
aren't we in a tangent?
We're tangenting a tangent at 30 minutes. Alligator Alcatraz is getting closed.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't really looked into the story, but the local Native American tribe of that area challenged it because it's in their land.
Yep.
And it's being closed, is what I read.
Yeah. All right. Very good. So, hey, you just did 30 minutes, and I thought, what's a funny joke? It is 30 minutes, so maybe we should get on with the show.
I can tell the time. Yeah.
Kiwi says MAGA is manipulating all gullible Americans. Nice.
I do like that. Yeah.
Danger of mouse. This time round, all the adults have been fired or quit, or they've been sent to Venezuela after being black-bagged. And Gold says, there's a reason you separate military and the police. One fights the enemies of the state. The other serves and protects the people. When the military becomes both, then the enemies of the state tend to become the people. It's a very good summary there, citizen. Thank you very much for your super chat and your service. No, I'm not going to say that anymore. It's a silly thing to say. Okay, let's get into the night, shall we? Let us start. Actually, oh God, that's pretty depressing. Let's start here because I'm sure you've got some things to say about this one, shall we? Australia today. Now, I think the story says are going to expel the Iran's ambassador. So let's have a listen as to why, and then let's discuss.
In what's likely to spark a diplomatic firestorm, Australia has expelled Iran's ambassador, accusing the nation of orchestrating at least 2 anti-Semitic attacks on Australian soil. An investigation into a spate of attacks finding Iran was behind the firebombing of a synagogue in Melbourne last December.
Just stop and think about that. I mean, we are basically Australia. I mean, don't be offended, but, you know, our culture, the way we live, you know, it's, I mean, if you closed your eyes and you looked down most streets, you wouldn't know whether it was Wellington or Melbourne or whatever. Lots of similarities. A foreign nation, I mean, we have had this with, you know, Rainbow Warrior in France attacking us. But imagine a foreign nation sending people there or using people from that country to commit acts of terror. That to me just is like, this is stuff from the other side of the world. It's and why is Iran getting involved in Australia? Like what does this serve? It's a very, very bizarre thing.
And a similar attack on a Jewish eatery 2 months earlier. Australia has closed its embassy in Iran, urging its citizens to leave the country and travellers not to go there.
These were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. They were attempts to undermine social cohesion and sow discord in our community.
Australia is moving to label Iran's Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organisation. Our Foreign Minister Winston Peters says New Zealand unequivocally condemns Iran's actions.
Yeah, it's Oh, Chewy. Yeah, I mean, you're much more knowledgeable than me in the world of sort of military and what's going on. What are your thoughts?
So I saw the initial stories around the attack on the mosque and I believe an Israeli restaurant as well, and at the time I thought they were odd. They kind of stood out. Obviously there was a pro-Palestinian movement in Australia as there is here, but very much like here, it seems to be very, very focused on the IDF, Netanyahu's government and Zionism. It doesn't seem to be the whole everything Jewish is bad, so we're going to firebomb a mosque. Firebomb a synagogue and a restaurant. It just seemed really, really strange. Obviously, this is quite a fresh story. There's Australian Intelligence Agency, ACO, I think they're called, haven't really mentioned what they've found or how they've found it, but they've obviously found enough proof that members of Iran's Revolutionary Guard or their intelligence apparatus in Australia was creating links with criminal elements and prodding them to do these actions, hoping to, I guess, kick off some sort of higher levels of conflict between supporters of Israel and supporters of Palestine and Gaza, and sowing, I guess, public disharmony. Again, it's like you said, it is strange. I don't know why Iran would have chosen Australia as a target. Who knows if Australia is Iran's only target in this. It's hard to feel bad for the Iranian government, but like maybe this is what like they have militarily hit Israel as best they can. So now they're looking at some other ways to attack Israelis overseas, but Australia seems pretty confident that they've got them on this.
I missed it as well. I think people are in the chat are saying synagogue, not mosque. Might have said an attack on a mosque.
Yes, I
sure.
misspoke there.
Okay,
It was an attack on a synagogue.
Interesting. A couple of these sorts of things coming through as well. Bizarre. It's bizarre. What about a Mossad distraction? More like a Mossad false flag. So the question is, forget independent terrorist kind of cell for whatever reason, but country of Iran, what's the purpose of this? What are they trying to do? What, because this is not going to like put the world in, it's not like a 9/11, obviously, and put the world in fear and shut down. It's nothing like that. So what is it? It doesn't, if we do that Occam's razor thing, which I know is not always useful, but what's the most logical conclusion here? What's the fewest number of assumptions to get to an outcome? And if you start to think about that, like a false flag, conspiracy theorists use false flags for everything. But in this instance, you kind of go, well, you can, if nothing else, and I'm not going to go down that line because I don't know, but if nothing else, you can go, I could see a reason why that might be done. Why would Iran attack 2 locations in Australia? It's not like Australia is part of the coalition of the willing. It's not like Australia was the planes that were given to drop the bombs on their nuclear sites. Like, what is it? This is what I would like to know.
And I think that's always the question you should ask when something like this comes up, is who has what to gain? And I must admit, this seems to be a lot of risk for Iran for very little payoff.
Yeah, what's it about?
Whereas Australia has gone from being a very staunch supporter of Israel and an American ally to being a little bit shaky on that. So maybe Mossad sees an opportunity here to do a little bit of false flagging and sort of go, well, look, we're Australia's friend. We'd never do something like this, but Iran are bad, so you should close their embassy. Yeah, look, I can see that. And look, I'm really hesitant to go down the false flag route as well, because you see all the time the cookers and the fucking Nazis and all of that sort of thing, that it's always a false flag. It's always a false flag. But, I would love to see more information come out of it. I'm not expecting more information to come out of it. I can't imagine that ACO is going to want to show their what do they call it, resources and techniques or whatever where they're getting their intelligence from. There's no way that they're going to talk about that. But for a country to close an embassy and send their that country's ambassadorial staff home is a big hammer to drop.
Especially because they've done the background of, they've come to the conclusion that it was Iran. It wasn't like, I'm not saying that you do it this way, but in a false flag, you might want to be caught, as in to put out there that this is what it is. I don't know. But look, it also does raise this question about ambassadors. And Chewy, you've said this numerous times about why hasn't the Israeli ambassador been sent from New Zealand, for example. Now, there's been 2 attacks which have been linked to Iran, which the Australian government believe to be Iran. So it's Iran as far as we know and as far as we're concerned. And so the embassy has been closed and the ambassador sent home. But is it fair now to ask the question, when tens, probably hundreds, look, when I say probably hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, if you destroy a city, if you 94% destroy the city of 2 million people, there's more than 80,000 dead people. So probably hundreds of thousands of people have been killed via war crimes. Is it time to put out there, Australia, New Zealand, Israel's ambassador? Why are they still here? Iran committed, let's say, 2 acts of terror, which on the scale of acts of terror we've seen around the world in the last 30 years are pretty minor. Israel has killed tens/hundreds of thousands of people via war crimes. Their ambassadors sitting comfortably in their ambassadorials. Chewy.
Yeah, I am no fan of the Iranian regime as well. I guess when you look back to the Israel had illegally attacked them and Iran responded, and I kind of went, yep, that's all justified. Iran has supported a lot of terrorist groups throughout that region for many, many years. They're an oppressive regime, and the Iranian people need to get rid of them. But yeah, I can't pick a bad guy in here. Like, and I guess this is something that is geopolitics down to, like, they're not always black and white hats, are they?
Well, yeah, but hang on. When you say you can't pick a bad guy, do you mean there's no good guys?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I can't point to one, Israel or Iran,
Just
who's the
checking for
good
me.
guy here. They're both being pricks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, well, yeah, okay, cool. So you've decided that Iran's been doing shitty things in your country and you want to kick them out. Fair enough. Like, that's Australia's call to make. Their intelligence agency, by all accounts, is very effective. So I'm sure that they are confident in what they're doing here, and I'm not going to shed any tears for the Iranian regime having their embassy closed. But as you said, by the same token, why has Israel not done enough to have their embassy closed? Like, they've sent all the messages. They've said, like, oh, you're looking like a pack of psychos. You should calm down. What's the next diplomatic step? Another letter?
It's an interesting question for next year's election. If the Israeli ambassador is still in New Zealand, are you going to send him home? Chloe, are you going to send him home? Chippy, are you going to send him home? Seymour, are you going to send him home? Winston, are you going to send him home? It's a pretty good question for all the parties to see where they're at. Some questions on that. I was also thinking, if Iran wanted to commit an act of terror to bring fear to a country, they probably wouldn't attack a small minority in their religious setting. Yeah, this is again why it doesn't make sense. But yeah, I'm not going to go down the conspiracy theory of false flag, but it's just there's so many holes in this that I'm gonna hold my tongue on to wait and see. Peter says, has Iran issued a denial? I'm not sure, actually. We should check that. Mouse says, I feel that Israel has always been that friend no one effing wants, but it's kind of convenient. On the previous conversation, D-Dub says we're advocating for a New Zealand constitution. I'd be open to a New Zealand constitution, but not until we all agree, what's happening with the treaty and the original agreement between two parties. We don't just kind of skip past that and go straight to something else. Paulie says something as well about, Australia, I guess, being a target. Australia makes parts for the bomb doors in the F-35 jet. Now, let's take that as the reason that Iran wanted to do something. Well, haven't we got guys on a peninsula in the North Island sending off parts, and there's parts being made in Auckland, and there's satellites being sent up that are helping America with targeting, and I'm not saying this, Paulie, to say you're wrong, but if that's the case, I notice it's in Australia in $2.99. Thank you, Paulie. That's about 73 New Zealand dollars. That if that's the case, then should we be expecting something? Should we be on heightened alert?
Yeah, well, the company that we were talking about, is it Raycon or something like that, up in Auckland? They had a break-in overnight last night.
Oh yeah, all the computer screens have got smashed up. Yeah.
Someone went in and vandalized them as a statement against their work. And I noticed that they're hiding behind the piece that we made that might be used in weapons guidance is actually used in a whole bunch of stuff. Yes, but it is also used in weapons guidance in Israel on Gazans. So that's kind of the point there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we actually did all those chats as we went through. So yeah, the story is a bit peculiar. It doesn't fit squarely and nicely away. And when things don't kind of just go, oh, yep, A plus B equals C, it's like, okay, so what it means is that this is not the end of the story. And there's more to keep an eye on, and we will keep you updated the more that comes out. Let's get to Chippy. Chippy this morning on a breakfast, because there's a couple of clips here to play. They've been talking a bit about the economy and what's happening in the economy up until this point. And they've been talking a bit about how the Reserve Bank is being handled, and how this government is perhaps being a bit more controlling of the Reserve Bank than the last guys were. And then that flows into a conversation around house prices and what we want to see with our house prices. Is the economy going to recover thanks to house prices? How is Labor going to deal with house prices versus National? And that's where they're coming into now. So they're coming out of the back of the conversation around Reserve Bank, and they're about to move into the conversation around house prices. There is no sound. Chewy, chewy.
I didn't do it.
There's no sound because there's no sound. Sheesh. Sheesh. But you got my There Is No Sound song. You haven't heard that for a while. Here we go.
Is there something going on here that is wrong about the relationship with the Reserve Bank and the government? Adrian Orr resigned in March, had the disagreement with Finance Minister Nicola Willis. Do you have concerns there?
I think the tension here is that the government think that pushing house prices back up again is going to fix the economy. It isn't going to fix the economy. It didn't fix the economy last time, and for a lot of Kiwi families it made things worse. It shut a whole generation of Kiwi homeowners out of the housing market. But that seems to be what this government's strategy is. Push the Reserve Bank to get interest rates down further, get house prices back up, so everyone will feel richer and start spending more money. That's not the way it's going to happen.
All right, Housing Minister Chris Bishop, he is for falling house prices. Christopher Luxon, though, wants those modest, consistent increases. So who is right here?
Well, Christopher Luxon clearly is not on the side of Kiwi home buyers. He thinks that Kiwi homes should be for rich overseas investors rather than for New Zealand families. I want to make sure that New Zealand families...
It's pretty good messaging here from Chippy. You know, it's not a direct answer, and we would often say, come on, answer the question. It is, he is answering the question, but it's a pretty good redirection back towards, well, of course, he wants house prices to go up because he wants to have more wealthy people. I'm surprised we didn't kind of go, well, he owns several rental properties. Of course he wants his houses to go up. I wonder if Bishop owns none, and that's why he wants them to go down. I don't know.
Rich overseas investors rather than for New Zealand families. I want to make sure that New Zealand families can afford to buy a house, and this government seems to have the opposite objective.
You could also say that he's for boosting the economy too and getting that going.
Well, having a whole bunch of rich people coming in and buying houses that they don't live in isn't going to boost the New Zealand economy. What's going to boost the New Zealand economy is investment in productive businesses, backing our innovators, backing our entrepreneurs, backing businesses that are out there trying to make it in the world, despite the fact that they're being faced with things like high power prices, which the government are making worse, not better. Deal with those underlying issues, and New Zealand businesses will be much more competitive. They'll create better jobs, and the New Zealand economy will recover.
Do you agree that this is sort of mirroring a John Key-esque approach to boosting the economy through house prices?
Well, that worked for John Key. It's not going to work for Christopher Luxon. First of all, house prices start at a much, much higher base level than they did when John Key became Prime Minister. We still have a housing shortage. And ultimately, you know, productive businesses are the ones going broke at the moment. And that's going to make things worse, not better. If Christopher Luxon wants to rescue the economy, he could start by rescuing those businesses, finding a way to rescue those businesses who are going out of business because power prices are so high. That includes a lot of manufacturing.
So we're seeing a little bit of tension between potentially what Christopher Luxon and Chris Bishop think about house prices. So what's Labor's stance on this? What's the policy here?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's nothing new about that. Chris Bishop and Christopher Luxon have a different view on house prices. Winston Peters and Christopher Luxon have a different view on foreign affairs. David Seymour and Christopher Luxon have a different view on just about everything. This government doesn't speak with one voice on anything.
Yeah. Like, you know, people are going to hate me doing this, but it's same as every government. I mean, like, and this is not a criticism of Chippy, but Luxon could be standing there in 18 months from now going, Hipkins doesn't agree with Chloe Swarbrick on Gaza. Chloe Swarbrick doesn't agree with Marama on da-da-da, because they have different policies. It's actually a good answer, but it's not an answer that's necessarily going to be only used against this government. The difference is this: when he's using it this time around, he's right. If he was using it, if it was the other way around, they'd probably not be, because I think the left are going to be far more united. It's funny saying this out loud as I think about it, Chewy. The left is going to be far more united in their message, I think, after the next election, and normally it's the other way around. But the right is the side that does look fractured right now, and the left is the side that does look more united. I mean, all we've got to do is go back to Debbie and Marama high-fiving at the debates last time, and you could see it. You could see it. It's almost like Labour, you guys pull your socks up, Labour, because the Greens and Te Pāti Māori are ready to work together. And so Labour, you need to go and join in as well. It if they get it right, it could be really interesting to see. This has only got 10 seconds. We'll just play the last 10 seconds.
This government doesn't speak with one voice on anything. When it comes to house prices, we want to see house prices in New Zealand stabilise, and we want to see New Zealand incomes grow so that first home buyers actually can get back into the housing market.
And the reason that answer is so much better than what Luxon does was he did not answer the question to start with. He diverted and made the point, but then after he diverted and made the point, he came back and he answered the question. The difference that you see with many on the other side at the moment is they divert away from the point and they never come back. Chippy, to his credit, diverted from the point to get his political statement out there, which is, this is the coalition of chaos. And then he said, now that I've explained that this is the coalition of chaos, this is what we do with housing. So it was actually, that was gold standard. It was very, very good. That was a very, very, very good politics there, Mr. Chippy. What are your thoughts, Joey?
It's always heartening to see the leader of the opposition basically repeat the talking points that I've been saying for over a year. Like housing is such a sacred cow here in New Zealand, but we are so slow to realise that it is what makes our economy unproductive, and we're also missing the fucking time bomb that we have of if people reach retirement and they don't own their house, then we have a massive problem. Because we don't have the long-term rentals that they have in Europe, where someone can comfortably rent an apartment or a house for their whole life and the price doesn't fluctuate. So our retirements are all built around the fact of the fact that it's assumed we're all going to own our houses. But that idea is long gone. That is a last generation piece of thinking. And we need to decide whether that's more important, that we actually crash the housing market. We actually make money exit the housing market. We make it, and that's one of the things, you make it hard, you make it a more risky investment. So it puts it on a par of like, well, am I better to put my money into a second, third, fourth house, which at the moment is an absolute no-brainer. If you have the money, it's a tax black hole. You are just going to make money. So buy another house, buy another one, buy another one. Or is it a better idea to spend your money into a startup business, into somebody's product or idea, and you're gambling on that being successful? There is a benefit to our economy if that is successful. There is a benefit to you. We all know that. Chippy obviously knows that. I have a suspicion Chris Bishop might know that. Luxon doesn't. Because that is not how Luxon has made his money.
Not that it's a problem. The reality is, though, crashing the housing market will also crash a whole bunch of people who are currently doing their retirement that way. So how do we do it? And like, you know, there's lots of young couples, young families who have gotten to an inflated housing market. And if we crash the market, they would lose all of their equity, all of their income, and it would be better for some, but they wouldn't. So it's funny, because I agree with, obviously, we need to make housing more affordable. 100% I'm on board. But it's really unclear to me as to how. It just
but
it really
everybody
is.
wants to magic up a solution when nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this is such a drastic thing, that there is no option when no one gets hurt. Like there is all the sensible heads are going, we need to do this with as little pain as possible. And I do acknowledge it is the people that bought at the top of the market, the value in their house goes, and you know, they're paying a mortgage that is more than what their house is worth. You know, that happened in the States. People just would give their keys to the bank and walk away. You know, that sort of thing is very, very bad. People that are relying on their house for their mortgage, for their retirement, again, very, very bad. But you need to get the investors out of it.
Yeah, okay. So there's another issue here as well, is apparently we're 10,000 houses a year short every year. So actually it's kind of almost impossible to crash the market because supply and demand. And even if we did crash the market and everything dropped by 20, 30, 40%, whatever, there's still going to be the demand there to purchase the houses that is way outside the supply, which is going to drive house prices back up again. So I wonder, Chewy, if there is a way that we can slow/freeze the market down and make it easier through government, through KiwiBank. I mean, we've got a fucking bank there that we can use. Some way that we can
forgotten about that. Absolutely.
some way that we can make it easier for people to get on. Because if we can make it easier for people to get on, then maybe that eliminates the issue of the housing, because one of the reasons is that it's so hot at the moment or hard is because they can't get on. It's too much. Maybe there's something that can be done to help people get on. Maybe I could be wrong on this, but I remember stories of well before my time as people buying houses with the government, and then after a few years that they've paid a certain amount off, they then pay the price that they got them for 5 years ago. You know, maybe there's another way we can do it. And you're right. I'm not. This is not coming from a point of, you know, I don't want to lose my equity, but this is coming from a point of the reality of how to do this best. Maybe the reality is we need to help people get into houses, whether the prices are as they are now, if they're down 10% or up 10%. Maybe there's another way.
See, I mean, I see people's fascination in the value of their house. You know, I check the value of mine every now and then. But because I only own one house, one of the things to keep in mind is if your house goes down in value and you need to sell your house and buy a different house, you're buying a house in the same market. So the price of that house has gone down as well. Like it's all very theoretical, but it's look at the fear that National is stoking at the moment, that Labor is going to come and tax your family home. Now, this is in the absence of any information from Labor, so National are just spinning at this point. But I think even if Labor do bring in a capital gains tax, land tax, whatever tax, it will not be on the family home. That is too dangerous for them. They won't do it. They might put in something that it's like your third home.
Yeah,
I
but
could
this is
imagine them being that soft, right?
Okay, but listen, let's talk about...
It should be exempt from your family home, and then that's it.
Well,
everything
but this
else
is
is
how,
taxable. Everything else
this
is income.
But if you want to get rid of the investors, right, then this is how you do it without impacting the others. You do it on the third home or the fourth home. You know, there's going to be retired people out there at the moment who aren't massively wealthy, but they've got a batch because they bought it in the 80s and they've got a home. Now, I don't actually care about capital gains tax on them. Like, I'm not against it. But if what the primary job is to for investors, they're the guys with 20 homes. They're the guys with 80 homes. That's the investors. So you could, if you wanted to be really, really directing at the investors, you could say on the fourth home and beyond. I'm not saying I care about the batch or the second home, but that's a way you could target the investors more than, you know, families owning 2 properties or 3 properties.
You could, just a thought that's come to my massive big brain. You could stage it like they were going to do with tobacco. You know, we're going to start by taxing the fourth home, and then in 3 years' time, we're going to tax it from your third home. You see, so you phase it in.
And let me just point this out, because Andrew's made this point. They are investors. Yes, having a rental property, you're an investor, but that's not who we're talking about. We're talking about the investor class, the people who basically they make their money, their income, based off owning 10, 15, 20 properties. They're limited liability companies that are buying hundreds of houses. That's who we're talking about when we're talking about investors, not someone with an investment property is different from what we're calling investors, just to make that perfectly clear.
Yeah. They're a business.
Yeah.
They're deriving an income from the assets that they own. Like, that's real fucking simple.
Yeah.
They should be paying tax on that. At the moment that they don't, and this government has made it very clear that they don't want the property owning class to pay tax. It's fucked.
Yeah. But there's another way you could do this as well, and we'll move on after this comment because there's another bit of chibi to play, is that I've always sort of thought, when they always talk about, you know, people have been buying houses for their retirement, yada, 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 from the older couple, that maybe you could also have a date that when you purchase from CGT is applied to. So those people who are in their 70s and 80s and stuff, who bought a house 15, 20 years ago, and they bought it, let's be honest, because the government weren't looking after retired people well enough when these guys were in their 40s, so they bought it to retire on. So maybe what you could do, and this is the number I've always thought, CGT applies to properties purchased after the date KiwiSaver started. So if a house was bought before KiwiSaver was there, they're exempt. They're grandfathered in. No worries. If they were bought after KiwiSaver, that's when you can start putting CGT on. It would give you a tangible line and a logical reason as to why you've done it. Just a thought. Just a thought. All right, let's just get to this, because we've talked a bit about his comments around Hipkins, Bishop and all the frickin' Chris's. We've talked about his comments around Chris and Chris, and now Chris is going to talk about his comments about Chris and Penny, because there was a bit of confusion around Penny promising or making the pledge or saying that they were going to get rid of gang patches. So there's a bit of mixed messaging coming out of Labor as well.
All right, I want to ask you about gang patches too. You're talking about people that aren't agreeing potentially on policy. Last week, Tamaki Makaurau candidate Pene Henare said he would repeal the gang patch law. You've said, though, that you wouldn't repeal the legislation making it illegal to wear gang patches in public. So what is your stance?
The Labor Party's stance is we oppose to the gang patch introduction or the ban on gang patches, but we're not going to repeal it. We think there's more important things to do in that area. Gang activity has continued to increase despite the fact the patches have been taken away. There's more gang members today than there ever have been. Methamphetamine use, which is one of the gang's main lines of business, has doubled since the gang patch ban was introduced. So it's made gang activity less visible, but it has certainly hasn't tackled the issues with gangs.
So what about the inconsistency with your party line and Mr. Henare's then? Is it a bit of inconsistency going on here?
Well, Pene Henare was asked for a personal view in the context of a by-election campaign. He shared that. But the Labor Party view and the Labor Party position is that we won't be repealing the gang patch ban.
He's obviously standing, like we said, he was started with voting yesterday. How is his campaign going, and do you think he's on track to win the seat?
We'll leave the actual thing about it, because there's an interesting thing there, and I guess when I hear politics, sometimes I think about what are they going to say, and you can see that there is an attack ad coming out, which is, how can these guys say that what we did was the worst thing in the world by banning patches? It wasn't going to work, yet they're going to keep it. The flip side to that is if Labor was to say, well, we're going to just cancel the gang patch ban, they're soft on gangs. So there's sort of no win here for Labor, and it is a mixed message, and Penny probably put his foot in it by doing that. And it's actually a tough one, because, if you say we're going to cancel the gang patch ban, you're soft on gangs. If you say you want to stick by it, you're a hypocrite, because you told us not to do it.
Yeah, but again, this is what we've talked about. National are going to criticise Labor regardless of what Labor does. Like, they're already criticising Labor for like, I saw a thing on Instagram today, some fucking dreadful video saying that Labor is pro-mongrel mob. You know, they're doing it already. So then fuck what they think. Act on principle. That's what we want. That's what we want to vote for, right? You said when they brought this in that it was a breach of human rights, that it was a terrible piece of legislation, that it was a waste of time law. You've gone on TV now and you said, look, it's not accomplishing anything. It's not hurting the gangs at all. It's business as usual. So stand on that. Stand on those things, your words and actions. Make it consistent and go, we're going to get rid of this because it's a garbage piece of law and it is a distraction. We know how to combat gangs. We were doing it before National got in. We were having an effect on that. We were having an effect on their revenue streams and all of that sort of thing. Stand on your principles.
I wonder if there's quite an easy way around this question now that I think about it, actually. What you do as the leader of the opposition, you go, if we get in, we're going to take advice from the Human Rights Commission. If this is seen to be a breach of human rights, then we'll get rid of it. In saying all of that, this is not high on our agenda. You know, a piece of clothing on someone's back. What's high on our agenda is, and lay your thing out. You know, you could put it to the side by saying we're going to look at this when we get in. Obviously, we don't believe in breaching anyone's human rights. If this is that, we will address it then. Done. To the side. Go on.
We're going to get people out of the gangs by improving the situation in their communities, by making sure that they have jobs, by making sure that the economy is geared for everyone, not the wealthy. Hammer that point for every time you're in front of the camera.
Yeah.
But
Yep, all right.
we're not going to get rid of it. It's
opening it up. It's opening it up. Over Red Rover says, to be fair, electricity companies were waiting for Tiwai to close. Then Russia happened. Friendshoring became a thing, and Rio Tinto changed their mind. Lots of knowledge there about various things. Jeanette's got an interesting idea. What about 1% per extra home, up to 40% if you have 40 homes when you sell? That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Dear Leader Chewy has another idea.
Okay. Who's the leader? Is Jeanette the leader in this instance?
No, I'm the leader. I'm dear leader.
Okay, you're doing yourself. Okay, third person.
Dear leader.
Okay, good.
We send someone from the government round. We knock on the door. We see who's there. If that's the person that doesn't own the home, then we give it to them.
Right.
We just take it away from the landlord and go, you live in the home. This is your home now.
That's not bad, though, because Jeanette's just come up with something along this, come up with the ideas if we're talking about that investor class, not an investment property, the investor class, then if they do have, what do we do? This is up to 40%. So if you've got these people with 160 homes or companies with 160 homes, then after 40, you're paying 40%. It's interesting. Interesting way to focus on the people who have more homes tied up into their businesses. Kaimatara Labor. Nat's voting bill is wrong because it breaches human rights. Gang patch ban breaches human rights. Labor. Human rights are optional now. And Peter says...
That's what it felt like, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the wrong answer. But as I said, he's kind of screwed both ways. But if they stood on the human rights thing and said very clearly, we are not going to breach, I'll make you a commitment. We are going to do everything in our power to not breach someone's human rights. If we're lucky enough for this country to put us in, we will activate, Danger Mouse, something like that, to investigate whether this is a breach of human rights. If it is, we will address it. Boom, move on. Sorry, Peter, I didn't read it. Labor needs bargaining points in coalition negotiations. Yeah, apparently Chippy was on Bomber's show tonight, so maybe we'll have a look at doing that tomorrow. All right, we're going to keep rolling. And this is Simon Dello warns people that there are some scenes within this story which are confronting. So be aware. There is no blood or gore or anything, but there is blurred out images. And, if you're a deep thinker, you know what those blurred out images are. We will have a look at the situation with this continued war crimes happening in the Middle East committed by Israel.
And in the Middle East, there's fierce global condemnation of 2 Israeli airstrikes on a hospital in the south of occupied Gaza that killed at least 20 people. And a warning, our story contains images some of you may find confronting. Health workers, rescuers and journalists are among the dead, most of them killed by the second strike on the same site as they rushed to the scene. Corazon Miller has the latest.
When Israel's first strike hit, it was the busiest time of day for the only partially functional hospital in Gaza's south.
So just think about that. The only partially functioning hospital in the south. This is it. And what does Israel do? They attack that. The only partially functioning hospital. So what Israel is actively trying to do is to have no functioning hospitals. That's the objective here, which is quite clear by attacking the only partially functioning hospital left in the south.
Without anything, without any prior warning, the area was targeted.
As patients and families fled the chaos and confusion, rescue workers and journalists rushed in to help the wounded. Then, minutes later, this. A second blast hitting where they worked. From below, cameras kept rolling, capturing the dazed and distraught survivors amid the dust and dead.
Scenes that I will never forget. We've seen a lot here in the year and a half that I've been here, and the
Liz Alcock works for MAP, which is the group that we did a buffer lot for, the medical aid for Palestinians. So that's with the aid worker. That's who Liz works for. I put in an email today to MAP to see if she could connect us at all. They could connect us, but yeah, it might be time, I think, to do another fundraiser for something in Gaza. So keep an eye out for that in the next couple of weeks, whānau.
here in the year and a half that I've been here, and the almost 2 years of this catastrophe. And it just gets worse and worse.
The strikes killed health workers, emergency responders, and at least 5 local journalists working for international media. Reuters cameraman Hussam Al-Mazri, Al Jazeera's Mohammed Salama, 2 freelance journalists Moaz Abu Taha, Ahmed Abu Aziz, and AP freelancer Mariam Abu Daga.
She cared for me and donated her kidney to me, and they transplanted it. She was loved by everyone.
Their deaths just 2 weeks after a targeted Israeli strike killed Al Jazeera's entire Gaza City reporting team.
And just remember in that strike, and I was talking to someone today and I said, even if we agree with Israel's, the IDF's position, which we don't, right? But even if we did, which was one of those reporters was a Hamas target, right? So even if we would agree with that, which we don't, there's not evidence for that, but even if we did, what they did was they killed 7 of them, so 6 of them journalists, to get to the 1, war crime. So even if what they're saying is true, war crime. It's a bit like what you're saying, Chewy, 83% according to them are civilians, war crime. Can we just stop this now? Israel is admitting to their war crimes. There's no more conversation around this. War
More
crime.
on that in a wee sec.
All right.
When and where is it going to end? Are we going to let the Israel Defense Forces continue the repeated killing of journalists?
This war has been the deadliest ever for journalists, with nearly 200 killed so far. And with international media barred by Israel, most, if not all, were Palestinians. It's boosting claims that Israel's trying to stop the world from seeing what happens here. Accusations repeatedly rejected by Israel, saying it doesn't target journalists as such. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
As such, true. I was just thinking, I just had a horrific thought. I'm sorry if it's horrific. You know what my horrific thought is? You can see the press flak jackets there. Those will bring more attention to these people, it would seem, than not. I wonder if actually wearing the press flak jacket is more dangerous than not wearing a flak jacket at all. Because if we accept, and evidence seems pretty strong, that the IDF is targeting journalists, wearing one as a protectant might be more dangerous than not wearing one at all, which is a terrifying thought.
Target journalists as such. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called.
By the way, that as such is doing a lot of fucking heavy lifting. Israel does not target journalists as such. Yeah, all right.
Calling the latest strikes a tragic mishap that his military will investigate.
We are operating in an extremely complex reality. Hamas terrorists deliberately use civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, as shields.
Israel's protestations met with growing suspicion that a so-called double-tap strike, a controversial military tactic to maximise casualties, could be anything but targeted.
This third floor was reputedly known for being a space where journalists work, and so there is already a first indication that it might have been a targeted strike.
What Israel sees as defence, many others now see as indefensible. Corazon Miller, One News.
They need to understand when they use words like a controversial tactic, they're mispronouncing war crime. I'm not sure why that's so hard to get off there, but
it's got more syllables.
Yeah, maybe. So there you go, Joe. Throw you the ball.
Hey, look, Mr. IDF spokesperson saying using civilian infrastructure to shelter behind. I just want to point out that the military headquarters for the entire IDF is under a hospital in a civilian neighborhood covered in high rises in the middle of Tel Aviv. So what I was talking about at the top of the show was that Israel is quite happy to tell the world one thing and tell its own people something different. So they were talking about this strike today. There's two versions. Where's my window? So I'm just going to read this for the people that aren't watching. In English, Israel calls the double tapping a hospital a mistake. In Hebrew, Israel brags about bombing Nasir Hospital twice and murdering 4 journalists there, calling them all terrorists. They first bombed the hospital, waited for the journalists to rush to the scene, and then bombed them. So the first release was IDF admits mistaken attack on hospital killing journalists and other civilians. We are devastated to learn of the death of Reuters contractor Hassam al-Masri and injuries to another of our contractors, Hatim Khalid, in the Israeli strikes, a Reuters spokesperson says. In the Hebrew language report, from the IDF, our forces operated at Nasser Hospital, which had become a terrorist headquarters. In the past 24 hours, the level of fighting in the Gaza Strip has increased, and a targeted attack was carried out on the Nasser Hospital complex in Khan Yunis, which was serving as a terrorist headquarters. We're currently attacking terrorist headquarters and eliminating the terrorists, including those who disguised themselves as journalists. So IDF perfectly happy to say, yep, we fucking did it, as long as it's in Hebrew to their own people. To the international community, oh, we made another mistake. We keep making this mistake. We can put a drone through someone's window in the middle of Iran, but we just keep bombing journalists in Gaza. We don't know what's going on. It's just crazy.
I struggle with what you've just said, because if that was accurate, and I'm not saying it's not, that would show utter incompetence by the IDF, because of course they're going to know that there's going to be Hebrew speakers who aren't on their side. So I'm just asking a question.
They don't care.
No, but,
and they
that's
don't
what I'm asking.
have to care. No one's stopping them.
But that's what I'm asking. Are we 100% sure that's what the Hebrew translation says? That's all I'm asking. Are we like, is it like fact check, we good source, that kind of stuff? Or just to make sure, because it sounds like the kind of thing that, you know, that would be, I was going to look up Snopes, and that might not be far enough through, but yeah, that's all. I mean, we can do it ourselves by just finding someone who speaks Hebrew and sending it through. I was going to have a look at some other things as well.
Well, I'll dig into that and see if I can find it independently.
I'm not challenging it. I just think that it's a bit like I've had this conversation before about something Hamas was accused of doing. And I'm not a person who stands up for the actions of Hamas, but it was very obvious what the person had put out there was false. And it took me about 5 minutes of checking the false. And the thing is, if we're on the right side of history, like if we're in the right, we don't need to make up bullshit. Now, I'm not saying that that's a made up bullshit. It's just it's worth making sure we're right, because if that is the case, that's even more damning. But if it's not the case, what happens is then the other side gets to go, oh, you were wrong this time, you'll be wrong again. That's all. I'm just a bit of a finicky fickler. Don't think it's a word, but so maybe you can send that to me and I'll do some checking of it overnight, and we can come back tomorrow. It can be like a follow-up. We can do this is a cliffhanger. This is a cliffhanger, and we'll check on it tomorrow. But actually, let's not take away from also the point, right? The point being war crime, and definitely the IDF don't give a shit. In fact, I almost thought while I was watching that, Chewy, I might make a little call that we might not play the IDF on this show anymore. So, because we know.
I'm torn on that. I see where you're going with it. I just think, knowing what we know and then seeing the IDF spokesperson come out and just say clearly a nonsense. But on the flip side of that is, I don't want to see the pricks either.
I'm more thinking about Jim Carrey makes some really funny noises. He does this voice where he goes, meow, 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 and it might just be funny to put that underneath all the future IDF soldiers speaking. That might be funnier. All right, we will continue to check on that. And look, I'm not being. When you're right, you don't need to spread stuff that's not wrong. So that's why I'm a bit of a finicky for checking out that we're right. I'm not suggesting that it's wrong, by the way, Chewy. I'm not questioning your thing. I'm just going like, let's double check that. Let's double check that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then let's report back. Because if that's right, that's even more damning once we've double checked it. Okay. Let's go and have a look at the story about Virginia Giuffre. Tragic story. Oh, are there any chats? Oh, sorry. We should do these chats first of all, guys. I apologise. Rygen says, may I suggest Labour's run on Mao's land reforms? Mystifies. That poor hospital doctor looked very frail, tired, thin. I can't imagine how they kept going, or they'll keep going. Over Red Rover says, have Israel ratified the Geneva Convention? Arvid says, when do we start asking, do you condemn Israel? We've been doing that since day one, buddy. And Kiwi Bird, let's ban commentary from the Israeli government. Yeah, I mean, I'm not so much. I mean, it's like, I mean, in this instance, Netanyahu said they don't target, well, I guess they don't target journalists. They clearly do. And the one we played last night, Netanyahu said, we don't do starvation, we do the opposite. And it's like, it's clearly bullshit. It's like Trump going, well, the most dangerous cities in the country are all Democrat run. It's just clearly bullshit. It's clearly bullshit. Okay.
So just to jump in there real quick, I've just been doing some frantic Googling for the person.
I'm sorry.
Whose byline is on one of those statements that I read out. He is a journalist with a very right-wing Jewish media organization called Channel 14.
Yeah.
So yes, you are looking at a very right-wing Jewish voice there, or Jewish Israeli voice there. So yeah, I'm onto it.
So the very right-wing Israeli voice is the one saying that they're saying death to the terrorists.
Yes. Yeah, the hospital was crawling with terrorists and only terrorists, and they were right to do it and all of that sort of thing.
So that's the very right-wing. So you've got an alt-right version of Israeli. Like, have we got a Nick Fuentes coming out there saying, "Whoop, that's like is it that far gone that they actually want to paint them as," even if the article doesn't say that, they choose to use words or have other definitions of the Hebrew words to paint it even worse than it really is.
I am not sure.
Okay. No, point, but it's worth checking in on.
But he's a real person, so that's a start.
It's a start of a 10. Virginia Giuffre is, of course, caught up in this horrific story around Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. Tragically took her own life this year, in fact. But she has a book coming out tomorrow, and it's not to downplay the serious nature as to how this is getting released and why, but it's going to ruffle some feathers. There is some more heat coming down the pipeline for some people.
A posthumous tell-all memoir by Virginia Giuffre is due out in October. The 41-year-old who accused Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein of sexual assault finished the book before her suicide in April. Titled Nobody's Girl, it's set to be explosive, the publisher saying it contains intimate, disturbing and heartbreaking new details. The BBC's Charlotte Gallagher reports.
And I won't stop fighting. I will never be silenced.
Virginia Giuffre, Jeffrey Epstein's most outspoken accuser. She was just a teenager when she came into contact with the paedophile and his co-conspirator and girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. Virginia had been working at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida at the time. She said Epstein sexually assaulted her and trafficked her to powerful men like Prince Andrew. Epstein is dead, and the King's brother denies the allegations. In 2022, he reached an out-of-court settlement with Virginia and issued a statement in which he expressed regret for his association with Epstein, but contained no admission of liability or apology. Virginia Giuffre took her own life in April at her home in Australia, but now, months on from her death, her memoir is set to be released. Its publisher says the book will share intimate, disturbing and heartbreaking new details about her time with Epstein, Maxwell and their many well-known friends, including Prince Andrew. It had reportedly been Virginia's wish that the book would still be published, even after her death. BBC News has contacted Buckingham Palace for comment. Prince Andrew lost his role as a working royal following Virginia Giuffre's allegations and his disastrous interview with the BBC.
That would be that sweaty interview that made him look like he had done the worst things in the world.
He's now very much on the sidelines. A trip to church at Easter, one of the few times he's been pictured with senior royals. His reputation is already in tatters. He could now face even more damaging allegations about his behaviour.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff around this which just feels ugly to talk about, right? In other words, she can't be held accountable because sadly she's no longer here. You can't defame the dead. The people who are accused are going to say, well, she's lying and we can't. So, it's going to be a really rocky road with this book when it comes out. But it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see what it says. And of course, the world is holding its breath to see if there's anything to do with Trump in there. I don't think she's ever been connected directly to him. And to be honest, if the publisher knew that it might be a bit more cloak and dagger and his powerful friends. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Is it? Or maybe I'm confusing her with someone else. Isn't this the woman that Trump claims Epstein stole from him?
Yeah.
From Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, but that's a really So basically, stole from him as in poached her like you would poach a good salesman from one company to another, because she was working in the as a masseuse, I think. Or she was only 17, so she can't be that much of a skilled masseuse. But she was working in the spa, and Ghislaine Maxwell saw her and wooed her to work for someone else, and that's the thing that Trump gets pissy about, that he took one of his employees, not that he then trafficked her and put her in a space where she sadly and tragically ended her own life from the point that she got taken from Mar-a-Lago. Anyway, she was a towel girl. People are saying in the thing she was a towel girl. So she worked in there, but she wasn't like a technical massager or anything. Yeah, it's just horrific. The story does go on. There's another 54 seconds. We'll play this. It actually doesn't. It's a separate part to it, because it also talks about her family and how her family is pretty unhappy at the moment because of the attention that Ghislaine Maxwell's getting, and I don't think it uses these words in the story, but sort of the attempt to whitewash her character. So we'll just play this 50-ish seconds, and then we can add to it, shall we?
Meanwhile, Virginia Giuffre's family is accusing the US Justice Department of giving Ghislaine Maxwell a, quote, platform to rewrite history by releasing audio of the convicted sex offender's recent testimony. Jeffrey Epstein's associate, who's serving a 20-year prison sentence, was interviewed for 2 days last month by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, President Donald Trump's former lawyer. Maxwell proclaimed her innocence, insisting she didn't see any inappropriate behaviour by any of Epstein's high-profile friends, and said a rumoured list of clients does not exist.
There's no list. There's never been a list.
And you never heard Mr. Epstein talk about such a list?
Never.
During the interview, Maxwell was told she shouldn't expect to be rewarded, but some Democrats say she just said what her lawyers advised her to say to try and get a pardon.
On the list thing as well, I think one of the things that I heard one of the commentators say through the last couple of weeks is that there may not be a list. There may not be a piece of paper written out, names on it sort of thing, but there's a list in her head. They should sit her down and they should get a pencil and go, right, start naming them. because there may so what she said might be true. There's not a physical list. There's not a list, but there's knowledge up there of the people that were visiting, the people that were involved, the people they hung out with. So they could make a list from information she has. So either way, let's not get semantic about the releasing the list. There is a list to be released. May not be physically written down yet, but there's certainly one inside her head, without question. Even if it's just the associates that spend all the time on the island, Chewie.
Yeah, no, that's... Oh, God, there's going to be so much on this book when it comes out. People are going to be devouring it. Prince Andrew is probably one of the least likable, at least believable people. Like that interview. Oh, I keep coming back to it. And he thought it was good. He thought it went well.
Yeah. Goodness
Look,
gracious.
anything that comes out about this, like, again, just to hammer the point, I don't care who's in the list. I want their name out there, whether they're left, right, famous people that are like, all of that sort of stuff. They can all burn. All of them.
Yeah. QBS is Ghislaine Maxwell is a lying jail. Well, she's already been found guilty of perjury. This is the other thing. It's like she's trying to get a deal. She got moved to this low security prison. And my understanding, and again, this is from a news source out of the US, my understanding is there was a prisoner who was already there who complained that they've got a sex offender, a sex criminal in with them, and the person who complained then got moved. Not Maxwell. Maxwell didn't move. The person got moved. So I heard that in one of the panel conversations going on as well. Yeah, it's not one that we've spent a lot of time looking at. It's an ugly thing, man. I don't even quite know what to do with it, to be honest. Altogether, it's pretty bad. I'm sure once this book comes out, which is, I guess, in the next few weeks, we will know a lot more, and then it will start all over again. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Ghislaine Maxwell after that. And of course, most people are thinking, most experts in the field are thinking that sometime soon or just before he finishes, if he survives. What about Trump and all this vein problems and bruising on hands and all that kind of stuff? If he makes it, like I did say before he got elected, he wouldn't make the full 4 years. He was already pretty unhealthy. So if he does make it to the end, giving her a pardon as he's going out the door, which all presidents seem to do. All right. Let me just also reiterate a policy of the management here at BHN, just so people are aware. We appreciate your super chats. We like your super chats. Very good. Offering a super chat is no guarantee that your chat will get used. So just in case it was a pertinent point to message tonight, we've always said that. Because if we didn't have that policy, someone could put up the worst, nastiest, Hitler-esque call-out and we'd be bound to show it. So, of course, we have editorial rights to either use the super chat or not. I don't know if that's particularly relevant tonight, Chewie. I just kind of felt the need to say it tonight for some reason.
It's odd that you bring that up at this particular moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, what's the opposite of like a palate cleanser? What's the opposite of a palate cleanser but for your eyes?
A sticky pudding, a something stuck in your throat, a terrible olive. I don't know. Well, a palate cleanser gets you clean, so it's going to be something that gets you dirty. A dirty bird. It's a dirty bird.
I know I've highlighted this before, but what Trump's doing to the White House?
Oh God!
Do you want to see the latest? The latest comparison?
Please. Oh, good God!
Before on the left, currently on the right. It's like he's ordered a whole bunch of like plastic gold filigree from fucking Temu, and he's just gluing it to the walls.
Oh, there we go. The opposite of a palate cleanser, I like Aya Blacks. It says it's where's it gone? How about
oral thrush?
Oral thrush. Can I offer you an oral thrush? Yeah.
Oh, isn't it dreadful?
Yeah.
And look, I don't know why anyone would do this, but you can actually Google pictures of what Epstein's apartment looks like. You might want to choose to do that in your own time. There might be some parallels there. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He liked this plastic gold filigree as well.
I hope, look, I heard this conversation again today. As you guys are aware, we intravenously take on board news all through the day. Point being made today, I can't remember who it was by, but like if he's building a, 90,000 square foot ballroom, do you think his plan is to be gone in 3 years? What, do you think this guy is building a ballroom for someone else? Like, do you honestly believe that? Or do you think that he thinks he's going to be there forever? Which, according to the looks of his hands and his bloated ankles, is about another 6 months. Then he won't be there anyway. What do they call him on? There's a really famous female podcast, and they called him, I think it's Taco McBitch Tits. Taco McBitch Tits, I think was the name that they used for them. And
I heard Tangerine Palpatine the other day.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's real good. Super, super good. All right, now, guess what? Guess who's coming? Do you want to play 20 questions with me? Do you want to play 20 questions? Go, let's play 20 questions.
Yes.
Okay, you got to guess who's coming on tomorrow night. You have no idea. 20 questions.
Male or female?
Aren't I supposed to say yes or no? Isn't that how 20 questions go? Yeah, I only say yes or no.
All right.
Or as you could just say, what's their name?
What's their name, Pat? And then you go yes. I am bad at this. This could go.
Shall I just tell you?
40
Shall I just tell you?
You should just tell me.
Nando Tenchos.
Oh shit!
Nice. See. So we got Nando Tenchos coming on tomorrow night. He's made some really interesting comments in the last couple of days about local. He's in local party politics about what the government decides is core local government, procedures. So we're going to talk to Nando tomorrow night about that. And then on Thursday night, apparently Thursday night's become let's welcome a Green MP to the show because Kahurangi Carter's coming on to talk about
nice
the Children in Care campaign. So Kahurangi Carter on Thursday night, Nandor, hopefully he'll be wearing his hemp suit on tomorrow night, and and a fun time had by one and all. So there you go, whānau, a few bitty bits for you as to what's coming up the next couple of days, but that's us for tonight as we get on our horses and ride off into the yonder, or something like that.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to.
Oh, that's the name. It's Cankle's McTaco Tits. That's what it is. That is just the best ever. And Vicky, no, Nando has not.
Like the rich have the hand up for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by butchery and pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's big hairy news.
Anything else for the night, Chewy? Anything else you'd like to add to our whānau? Anything else at all?
The media wants you to go out and buy a durian from a supermarket for $100. Don't do it. I've had a durian before. It's like eating onion custard. It is not worth it.
Is it better than a cheeky fella? Is that thing a cheeky fella? Was it that what the thing was called?
Oh, yes.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
Cheeky fella?
Something. I can't remember now. I'll have to look it up.
More research for us to do that you'll find out about tomorrow night, Whānau. All right, all the best. Catch you tomorrow night from 9. Nandor will be with us at the start of the show. Hooroo team.
Cheers, fam. Ugh.